So for quite a while now, Oris as a brand has piqued my interest. I think they're doing something right in marketing, in social media, and of course with their products. They just have great watches, it seems. I learned that by purchasing this Oris 65 divers with the bronze bezel. And this is what I'm going to review today. Now, the reference number for this one is quite a mouthful, so I'm not going to repeat it here. I'll just write it in the description below. Now let's get to the specs. So diameter is 40 millimeters, width is 13 millimeters, lug to lug is 48 millimeters if I'm not wrong. The movement is called Oris 733, but it's actually Sellita SW200-1. It comes on a stainless bracelet. However, you can also get it on a leather strap or on a nice tropic strap, which I also have. The bezel is aluminium with the bronze at the edge, of course. The glass is nice domed sapphire, and lug width is 20 millimeters. So what got me into this watch in the first place is obviously its aesthetics. The vintage aesthetics, there's a deep black dial, as you can see. It's lacquered deep black with some very minimal writing. We only have the old Oris logo at the top, automatic, and the date window at 6 o'clock with the, if it will focus here, water resistant, 110 bar, 100 meters. So yeah, not a lot of stuff on the dial, and the placement of the date window really makes the dial flow. The date window's background is black, so it doesn't disrupt the flow of the whole dial. As opposed to if it was in the 3 o'clock position, for example, then perhaps it would look a little more out of place. Now, the markers are gilt, as you can see. It adds, of course, to the watch's vintage style and creates a nice chocolate-y effect, which interacts with the black dial nicely. Another nice interaction is with the way the markers interact with the bronze edge of the bezel. I think that they work together nicely. Like this is something that Oris, the designer at Oris, thought about, and it's a nice touch. Regarding lume, this is one of the weaknesses of the Oris. I will show you right now. So this is the lume as it is charged from the lighting in the room, which is a window open. Now let's light it up with a flashlight. Now it looks better, right? Well, that doesn't last long. It does look nice, but the lume on the markers goes out really quickly, while the hands are have a little more lume applied to them, so they will show you the time if you wake up in the middle of the night. So the glass is a domed sapphire crystal, which creates beautiful distortions on the edge, as you can see. You can see that the markers seem a little bit larger than they are when you look at it from an angle, which is really nice. It seems like they drag a little to the side, something which I personally like. And this doesn't impede the readability of the watch, the legibility, so that's also cool. The glasses, they are coated from the inside, and it's quite reflective, but not enough to disrupt the legibility. The case is polished on the sides and brushed on the top. The case back has a nice engraving of the old Oris logo. I'll try to show you here. Now the 40mm case sits very nicely on the wrist, as you can see. It's also thanks to the relatively short lug to lug of 48mm, and personally I think that it melts on the wrist. It's very comfortable. The bracelet is. We'll talk about it in a bit. But I'm really pleased with how this watch wears. The crown has this etching of the Oris old logo, and operation is really one of the best operations I've ever had on a watch. Winding is buttery smooth, and we have a nice 120 click bezel with a nice click. However, if you look at the 12 o'clock now, you'll see that misalignment issue. The bezel doesn't 100% align with the dial. This is something you expect of lower end Seikos, or maybe a little bit more than lower end, but not from Oris watches. Luckily, I personally don't care about this, but it can really kill the watch for other people, I'm sure. The bracelet on the Oris 65 is one of its best features, in my opinion. This is one of the most comfortable bracelets I've ever worn. It's 20mm at the top, between the lugs, and it tapers all the way to 40mm where it meets the clasp. A very dramatic taper. But it makes the watch lighter, and I think that it contributes to the overall vintage aesthetic. The clasp feels substantial. It has a nice operation to it. It's milled. And it has a click mechanism to open and close. Now, one of the weaknesses of this bracelet is, well, it's not such a big weakness, but it's the fact that it has a pins and collar system which hold the links together. And if you don't know what it is, then there are pins and there are little collars that hold them in place so they won't slip away. It's not hard to work with, and many Seikos have that, so if you've ever resized the Seiko bracelet, then you probably know how to deal with it, but for some people it can be quite a daunting task. So one elephant in the room is the fact that this watch only has 100 meters water resistance. In the unwritten book of rulebook of dive watches, a dive watch has to have at least 200 meters of water resistance in order to be considered as one, and to answer other standards in order to have an ISO rated diver rating. So that isn't the case with the Oris 65. It doesn't bother me at all because I didn't buy it to dive or swim. I have many divers, and I'm only a desk diver like many of us, I'm sure. But if I did want to take it to the sea or to the pool, swimming pool, then I would really be able to do that, because first, there's 100 meters of water resistance, and second, the crown is screw down, so I would feel safe enough to use it in water. I already washed it, and I really don't mind. I know that some people might have an issue with it, but I think that this is somehow this is a good move by Oris. I mean, they know that their people don't really put these things to really dive with them. And if you really want to dive, then you have the Oris Aquis line, which is a more serious dive watches that Oris offers. So the price of this watch at the time of doing this review, according to Oris watch website, is 2,200 Swiss franc, which is around 2,400 US dollars. But I doubt anyone has ever purchased it in this watch, as you can get discounts from ADs. On the used market, where I purchased it, it comes at around anywhere between $1,000 and $1,400 US. So the movement is the Oris 733, which is actually the Selita SW200-1. I don't know exactly what Oris does to change things around, so it will have its own name, but I'm sure they do something. I know that the Oris, that the rotor is red, and it has the Oris sign, which is some kind of a sign for Oris. I know that my piece performs very well accuracy-wise. It's well within the fine standards of the COSC specs, even though that it's not a COSC watch. It has a nice smooth sweep to the second hand with 28,800 BPH, and there's a power reserve of 38 hours. So to sum it up, what I don't like about this watch is the misaligned bezel, the weak lume, the pin and collar bracelet, which should have been screw pins for in this price range. Now there's the 4 rivets thing, which I haven't discussed yet, and that's something which might put people off. Personally, I like it. I think it adds to the watch and to the bracelet specifically, but some people might not like it, and I guess that's okay. But that's what it is, and the bracelet is really one of the best, seriously, one of the best bracelets that I ever put on my wrist. So what do I like about this watch? Well, it's simply beautiful. It has a lot of charm and magic to it. The dimensions are very comfortable. It has a nice twist in the form of the bronze bezel, which also gets patinaed over time. It's a tried and tested movement, which performs very well. It is easy to service when the time comes. Easy to use crown with a smooth butter winding. Comfortable bezel with a nice section. Domed sapphire glass that complements the dial very well. And a superb bracelet that feels really high quality. Seriously, it's so comfortable. I like wearing the watch just sometimes only to feel how comfortable the bracelet is, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's it for the Oris 65. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know. And thanks for watching.